Hello, Maddie Cook. How are you today?
Haley Jefferson, I am fabulous today. How are you, my love?
I'm wonderful. Hey, Jose. How are you?
Hey Haley, hey Maddie, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on.
We've got
Thank
a
you for
guest,
being here.
folks. We've got a guest. So today we've got a brilliant guest, and we're so excited about talking to Jose Bryce Smith, who is the founder and owner of O&M Products, which are just beautiful, beautiful products. And so Josie dropped into my inbox after we did the gender disparity episode and was like, I've got stuff to say. I've got stuff to say. I'm a woman that owns a brand.
Yay!
And so but we jumped on Zoom, had a conversation, and I just loved her. And we were like, can you come on the podcast, please, and talk about this? And so this is slightly a follow-up to episode 6, which was all about gender disparity in the hair industry. But a little more about Josie. Josie's based in Sydney now, although she was born in the UK in Hertfordshire. She moved out to Sydney. Was it in your 20s, Josie?
Yes, I was 26 when I came here.
She went over to Sydney. That's where she resides now. Rocking the products world with O&M, which is, I mean, your packaging, I just want to start by saying, is some of the most beautiful packaging I've ever seen.
Stunning.
Have you seen it, Maddie? It's gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful.
Gorgeous,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Thank you. You know, the shampoos were inspired by an English milk bottle. You remember the old milk bottles with the milkman?
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Oh, I see that. Oh, do you know I love milk bottles as well, old ones. They're cool.
Yeah.
I like putting flowers in them. They're such, they are
Yes.
really cool. Oh, God, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. And so, you know, we're going to talk all things today around being a woman in the hair industry, but, you know, particularly around owning a product brand and everything like that. But I want to start by asking you, you know, what your experience has been around owning a product brand as a woman, and maybe some of the challenges that you've faced around that. Would love to hear anything you've got to say around that.
Yes, I think it's interesting because hair is such a female skewed industry. Like so many of our customers, I think like 80% of our customers are women. I mean, we'd love more men, but they just generally, women are most of our customers, but yet it can be such a male dominated industry behind the scenes. So I started making products, gosh, nearly 20 years ago now, and from my salon, and then I kind of went into it in a much bigger way after about 5 years. And when I would meet with distributors or manufacturers, particularly very early on when we had kind of the first ammonia-free hair color and we were making sulfate and paraben-free shampoos, and the distributors or manufacturers would say to me, you know, Josie, we love your product. We think you're a bit ahead of your time. Who owns the company?
Oh, my gosh.
I was like... So I got that. Yes, I got that a lot. And I began to realize that it just couldn't have been an option that I owned the company. So I was like, okay. And so there was a lot of that. And it actually did prohibit me quite a lot in some ways. And I kind of had quite a long journey of making this clean hair color. It took me a number of years, and I dealt with some big manufacturers, and eventually when I got the formula that I liked, I really started to talk to distributors, and I came up against the same thing. And so I actually, you know, a lot of things happen in my life quite organically, but I got divorced 10 years ago, and I went on a dating app for the first time, and I swiped to this guy, and we decided that we weren't for dating. And he said to me, you know, he's a serial entrepreneur, and he said, are you getting a spark? And I said, no, but you're like one of the nicest people I've ever met. And he goes, I'm not getting a spark either. You need the spark. He said, but I've never met anyone with as much chutzpah as you in my life. And he said, but you seem to be having some problems. And I said, well, he said, what do you need? And I said, to be honest, I just need a dick. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, if I had a dick, my product would be everywhere by now. I said, because these men look at me and think that because I'm a woman, the company's unstable or something. And I said, could you just come with me to this meeting that I've got with a distributor who was looking at a contract that was several $1 million. And he said, what do you need me to do? And I said, all I need you to do is say that you're on the board and that you look after finance. And then just say something about the structure of the company and the funding, just something like that. So we went to this meeting, we flew to another country, we did this thing, and we signed the contract. They bought $1 million worth of product up front. And he was like, oh my God. He goes, I don't even really know anything about your business. And I said to him, never mind about that. I've got about 5 other of those. I need you to come with me. And so he's been helping me ever since. So it's a bit of a shame that you have to do that. But I just think, gosh, I'm not going to try and change all the men in the world to realize that I've got a brain and I know what I'm doing. So I'll just move around it.
Yeah. I think about that sort of thing a lot. It's such a brilliant story. I think about that a lot, though. You know, you can get stuck on sometimes on the fact that it's wrong, you know, and I think it is wrong that you've got to bring a bloke in the room, but also you live in the now and you just want to move forward, don't you? And I think we've got to keep our eye on the bigger picture and why that's a problem, but also in the now, you've just got to get on with your life, haven't you? And do what you've got to do to make it work, which is what women have been doing for years.
Playing the game.
So brilliant.
Yeah.
I know. Getting on the apps for business.
Yeah, hell of a swipe, Josie.
On the apps.
I think
to get on.
Yeah, the universe sends you what you need in that moment, right?
Agreed.
So that was what
100%,
I needed.
yeah.
A kind of a big brother. He's been like my big brother.
Oh, he sounds like a great sort. How fantastic. And is he still on your board?
Yeah, he is. And there was actually a point where I tried to give him some money for everything he'd done for me. And he said, no, my mother told me to be a generous person. And he said, apparently the first coffee that we ever had, he said to me, what will it be like dating you? And I apparently said, it will never be dull. And he said, it's never been dull knowing you. I don't think it could ever be dull. And you're like my hobby. And he also said, you know, he's 10 years older than me. And he said, I wish that when I was your age, you know, which was me kind of 6 years ago now, he said, I wish I'd had somebody who'd done it before who kind of helped me. So that whole giving is part of receiving. And when you help other people, it's the circle of life.
Yeah. What a funny story. I just love that so much. And so I'm wondering, we know, you know, that it can be tough then trying to get a product brand off the ground as a woman, but have you found that there's any positive sides to being a woman-owned business?
Definitely. I mean, there's definitely advantages. You know, it's funny because at one point I had a bit of a debate with a lady who was working in finance, and she was coming to the salon, but she was like, oh no, I've let my hair go grey because I need to be taken more seriously in meetings. And I was like, no, I was like, we have everything that men have. We have the brains, the tenacity, the creativity. We have everything, but we also have hair, makeup, and style. We can go into a room and we can absolutely polarize men, and we can just, you know, we can stun them with the way that we look. And then we can also have, you know, the stuff to back it up, the intellect and the information. So to be honest, I find that it's an advantage. I think also social media, it's an advantage being a woman. And then, you know, kind of in the second phase of my business, when it really started to take off, and I realized that to scale and go global, I needed investment. Traditionally, private equity investment really only goes to men. In the US, only 2% of private equity investment goes to women. And I ended up getting investment from a US company. I still have full control of the company. And they left me, you know, they wanted that. And now, if anything, they're looking for more women. They want more women because women
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the boys' club.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. I was reading a statistic, and I'm going to gaff the numbers, but I'll give you the gist. And it was I'm interested in the comparison between the UK and the US in terms of like entrepreneurship, because I think the culture is really different. And there was something about if women started and scaled businesses in the UK at the same rate that men do, we would add like $1 trillion to GDP or something like that. So basically in the UK, women don't start businesses, but in the US, where it's much more common to be like entrepreneurial, like American dream and all that, women open businesses at about the same rate as men. So it's interesting to know that, but also that at the point of investment, you're then stuck, like so few. And I wonder if it's that less women are asking for investment, or that less of them are able to get to the point at which they need investment, or less of them are getting invested in. Because that sounds wild to me, that it's almost an even playing field in terms of who owns a business, but at the point of investment, it's absolutely tiny.
That's when it's stuck. That's interesting.
Yeah. I'd love to know your thoughts on that as well.
Well, it is probably because a lot of private equity firms are men, right? There are a growing number of women involved in them, but if you think about kind of investment banking and banking generally, it was always much more male skewed. But there are some female funds starting, like there's one in the UK called Voltaire, and I met with them, two gorgeous ladies who invest only in females. So I do think that there's more starting, but I'd say that that's the reason. And maybe it's also because women don't necessarily obviously push themselves forward. You know, like if you're a woman that, you know, really pushes yourself forward, it can almost be, people think, oh, that's a bit showy. But if you're a man that does that, you're just powerful and, you know, So, but that's probably, it's not that women aren't creating great businesses. It's probably that. But I do think that the tide is changing.
Yeah.
I do think it is.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is about how we're socialized, you know, just as women, how we're socialized, how we're taught to behave, don't get too big for your boots, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Be nice.
But I think you can still be humble and successful. You know, I don't ever want to be any different, and I never kind of big myself up. I just think it's revolting, and it's not about that. I just believe that I was solving a problem, and my number one value at work is living my purpose and helping other people do the same. So it's like success for myself with others. You know, it's just it's so much a better way to live.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite phrases is a rising tide lifts all boats, and I think that's such a nice value that a lot of people have. Is like, if I'm doing good, I want that good to help other people do good, and like you say, this like cyclical, it all comes back anyway. So rather than like an individualistic, I just want to do good at the expense of whoever on the way up.
Do you find I find the nice people in the industry find the other nice people in the industry as well? You noticed?
Yeah,
like,
the good eggs.
I come across the good eggs, you know, like Josie dropped into my inbox, was a great egg, you know, like I just find when you're putting out a certain vibe, people drop into your inbox going, we do nice things, don't we? Do you know what I mean? Like I find like I found so many wonderful people in the industry just by, you know, just being yourself and putting nice stuff out there. So I totally agree. Yeah.
And like Josie's swipe, the life-changing swipe, that obviously worked. There was something going out into the universe there. I've got another observation. You know, this is like my wheelhouse. This is one of my favorite topics that I could speak on for 6,000 hours. But if I go into, let's say, Boots, or, you know, anywhere that you can buy hair care products, something that I'm just noticing anecdotally is that a lot of the products with names on are guys' names, but a lot of the the brands that are women owned, that I only find out that they're women owned because I have to kind of work that out. Women tend to put a brand name on, guys tend to put their name on. Are we noticing this, and do we have any thoughts on why this might be?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a couple of thoughts. I mean, one thought is, right, if you put your name on something and then it eventually gets sold, because at some point you've got to retire, right? Then you've sold your name. And then your name could potentially be on a product that you don't represent anymore. And I don't know, I think, I'm not sure if that's something that I would want to do. And once you've sold your name, you kind of don't have anything. And then the second thing is, I thought was, you know, is it that men have bigger egos and they want their name up there? I mean, I don't know, because it never occurred to me. I didn't actually even really want to be the front person for the brand because I'm not a hairdresser. You know, I never envisaged myself being at the front. But it is interesting that, and I suppose with salons as well, a lot of men put their name on salons too. But
it is. What do you think, Maddie?
I think maybe we need some guys to get in our DMs and tell us why they put their name on. But yeah, I agree with you, Josie. Like strategically, and you know, I think in business you should be always thinking of like the exit plan and, you know, what's happening 5 to 10 years down the line. And yeah, like it's sometimes not a smart move to have your name all over everything, because then you either can't, it's not as saleable without you attached to it, or you have to give up your name, which is quite a scary thing, and someone else then you know, runs that ship. But it's just, maybe someone needs to tell us from a guy's perspective, like what the driver is behind. Maybe it just feels great. I mean, walking down the aisle and going, oh, there's my name on everything, that probably does feel quite nice. But I don't know.
I wonder if some of the high profile male hairdressers, like let's say Nikki Clark and stuff, I wonder if they were approached to make products, you know,
probably,
and there was a benefit to putting their name on because they were already a known brand.
Yes, like a household name.
Like that would make sense.
Yeah, possibly. And you
go, Jose.
Sorry, one thing I thought of was, you know, if you, oh my God, I think it's actually gone. Okay, sorry. I thought.
I love it when you have a great thought and it disappears.
Oh my God,
we do that all the time.
That's the ADHD.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
It's good though. If I don't get to
say, no, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, it's come back. So I often say to my friends who are not in the hairdressing industry, I say, being a top colorist is like being a Michelin star chef. And so I wonder whether, as you say, some of the people that put their names on it are kind of the top hairdressers. And so I can understand that. And so much of what we do is education. And so maybe that gives it that credibility. I just think that in this day and age, I think people align with values and purpose more. It's bigger than an individual for me. Like if I got run over by a bus tomorrow, I think that O&M would continue because it's got values and it's got purpose. So,
Yeah. I might ask Adam Reed why he didn't put his name on his brand.
Yes.
You know,
that's a good shout. Yeah, we like Adam.
He's lovely.
I'll ask him. I know. Honestly, he's the joy of a human. I'm going to drop into his DMs later and ask him. And we'll report back. I just think Adam's a big name, you know, he could easily have just put his name on and he didn't. And so he's got a strong ethos around his brand. And so, I wonder what that's about. I'm going to ask him. And so I'm interested, Josie, in your ethos around your in your business and really how you know, how you thought about that, how you created that. But I know you have a really strong ethos about how you run your business and, you know, like you're just talking about your values. And so, you know, how did you come to develop that?
So my dad died of cancer when I was 17. And my mum always focused on low chemical. Like, they actually found aluminium in my dad's armpits. And I remember him saying to me, don't use a deodorant with aluminium. It's heavy metals, it's in your armpits, listen to your mother, stay away from chemicals. And so I think from an early age, I was always, organic food and just generally clean beauty products. So, and I think health, because of what happened to my dad, became my number one value. And so that's really when I started making hair products. We were just solving a problem which I saw, which was, hairdressers with contact dermatitis, bleeding hands, like breathing issues. Like, there were lots of things that were going on in the salon. And at the time, the ammonia color was like making my eyes water. And I was like, wow. And also the forehead and the scalp is 60% more absorbent than the legs and arms. So what you're putting on here is going through your endocrine system, through your liver, and out through your bladder. And our philosophy was all around clean, and it was just getting hairdressers to live healthier lives and to improve the experience in salon. And then, I think that the clean then resonates through to the way that we deal with people. I like to have transparency about what we say. There can be a lot of smoke and mirrors in products, and I like to be honest. And then kind has always been one of our values. And that was really just kind to each other, our customers, to the environment. And then original is our other value, because we were the original pioneers of ammonia-free color. And when you're pioneering something, it's pretty freaking tough and lots of things go wrong. So, so I think those are the things that kind of underpin the brand. And I just, from my dad dying, I realized, he actually said to me, life is a gift, don't waste it. And so I always try and, make the most of every day and use a lot of humor and not take myself too seriously. And, I want to enjoy the journey. So, they're very much the things that underpin O&M.
I love that so much. I say so often to people when I'm coaching, you have to enjoy the journey, because the journey, like the process, that's your life. When you focus on end goals too much, you don't always end up living a life that you want to, but the journey and the process is everything, isn't it?
It is. My therapist said to me, the world is your classroom. And if you see everything as learning, every interaction, every person that comes into your life is meant to be there, and you've got something to learn from them. If you see it all as learning, then the journey becomes much easier, because you kind of get less upregulated or offended by things that happen. And I failed so much. I failed more than anyone I know. I've lost more money, had more crazy situations, and that I've had to get myself out of. But always through that, I always said, I was always my own best friend. So I would always go, well done, Josie. Well done, Josie. Even when I just completely cocked something up. So
where do you think you got that strength from?
Well,
where do you get that from? Because I think that's tough, to have that.
It is. I do think a lot of entrepreneurs have significant events in their childhood. Like, I do think there's always a lot of childhood stuff. So I think seeing my dad get cancer when he was 11, or when I was 11, watching what he goes through, watching him deteriorate, and watching him not give up, keep working, stay positive, crack jokes. I think it made me realize that, you got to be tough, and that I didn't have anything to moan about. So that did give me, I think, a lot of resilience watching that. And then, we all go through stuff, and that kind of makes you tougher as well. So that's that keep going. There's, it's almost better to have nothing at some point, just to be able to find what you've got in that nothing.
I think that all the time.
Yeah.
And
I
think
me
about
and
this a lot. Do you think about
yeah.
this, Maddie?
Yeah, I feel like me and Hayley are just sat there with like heart eyes, just going, "Oh, Josie." I feel like I'm just fangirling. But I had
exactly that.
just a couple of things have just really resonated. So one was when speaking about when you were saying about failures. There's a post I saw the other day. There's a content creator called Rebecca Ives, and she said that woman who you aspire to be, that you look at and you go, "Wow, she's doing amazing." Her pile of failures could eat your pile of failures for breakfast. And I think that I've never met someone who's incredibly successful and resilient and driven who hasn't catastrophically cocked up in like a number of ways. And I think, and I love hearing those. I love, I think anyone who's like, "Oh yeah, it was just easy, really linear." I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. And so I love that. And I said to I've got like a challenging thing that I'm working on at the moment, separate from work, and that's the exact mindset that I've approached it with, is like, I will learn so much from this, regardless of the outcome. This is going to be an amazing lesson for me. And then if it's a lesson for me, it's a lesson for other people, because I can help people with that as well. So yeah, I absolutely love that mindset of, even if this is tough, even if this is shit or really hard, there's still so much to get, like to glean from it. So I absolutely love this.
What I really loved was your dad was a brilliant model for tough things can happen and you can still behave in this way. Something hard was going on and still you can crack jokes, you can work hard. Like, to see that as a young person, as sad as it is, it's also some excellent modeling, isn't it? Of how to cope with tough stuff. Like, fantastic. He sounds brilliant. He sounds like a brilliant guy. So yeah, you see where that comes from.
Yeah. There was another thing that I understand you have in your business, which is like a focus on gender parity. So I know you said about 80% of your customers being women. We know that in the UK, at least, it's about 86% of hairdressers are women. How does that show up in your business, and is that something that you kind of focus on, Josie?
Yes, so it's funny actually. My head of people, when she joined, she actually said to me, "Josie, you're at 87% women," and she said, that you could actually be discriminating against straight men as well." And
Lord,
like,
imagine.
well, that'll be the first time. But we've got several straight men who we love, who are great members of the team, but we do have lots of women, and we have lots of gay men, because hairdressing, we have lots of ex-hairdressers that work for us. We have, like, out of 50 people, we have 20 kind of sales reps and educators, and they're all ex-hairdressers generally. So we have a very diverse mix of people. But I again think it's, you just end up, like, I actually don't believe there's even any sales. Like, there's no such thing as sales, which is what I say to the sales team. There's just, you end up attracting people that have similar values. And I think it's the same with us, with the people that come to work for the business. They end up having similar values. They're, on a health and wellness journey. We have lots of mothers. We give flexibility. We have Be Me days, which is 3 days a year where you just do something that's be you. At the summer, we have Summer Fridays, where we finish at 3:00, and then we just took the whole company.
Can we come and work for you?
I know.
We took the whole took the whole company last weekend, 50 people on a health retreat for the weekend. And we did that instead of our Christmas party. I asked everyone if they wanted to do that, and we all did. And, so I think you end up attracting, so we've attracted a lot of women, but there's also a lot of women that have had children and then want to come back to work, who are brilliant, who have had like a big 8-year career gap, sometimes 10 years. So, I've taken a lot of those people, and we've found like brilliant people who maybe wouldn't have got into other businesses. So, we've just naturally attracted that. But, you know, we do have some great guys that work with us as well, and we love the balance. But, you know, we do bring them to tears sometimes. We do make them talk about stuff as well. Like, we're super open about feedback. Like, I don't like people talking behind other people's backs. Like, if somebody comes to me and is talking, venting about someone else, like, people need to vent, it's all good. I will say, I'm totally happy for you to vent, but you need to talk to that person, and I will help you with how to have that conversation. But so that's not for everyone, but we've just generally attracted more women, which it works really well.
I love to see the proportional representation. That makes me very happy. And you've touched a bit there, Josie, on you know, having members of your team who are parents, who are mums. I know you're a parent as well, and I think just for any listeners who are, you know, listening to you and thinking, I'm feeling really inspired, I'm really ambitious, I'm really driven, but they maybe feel held back, or like it's a little bit tougher because they are a parent, or maybe they're a single parent or co-parent, or whatever their kind of situation is, or maybe they've taken some time out of business, as you've said. What would you say to someone in that position who's like worried that that's something that is an obstacle or something that's going to hold them back?
Yeah, so I got divorced 10 years ago, and I have had my children, the majority, on my own. And, you know, I used to get a lot of inspiration from Beyonce, and me and my girlfriends would say,
why not?
You've got as many hours in the day as Beyonce. If Beyonce can do it, so can I, right? And I just think as well, there's something about the female brain that we can multitask. So I could be on a call whilst making a bolognese, you know, whilst vacuuming. Like, I can do like 3 things at once. And I just, you know, it was a great motivation for me that I wanted my kids to have a great life. I didn't want there to be any disadvantage that I had got divorced. That was my choice. And I, you know, wanted to give them everything. And I believe that you can do it all. And, you know, sure, there are other sacrifices, but you can, it's totally possible. But you do have to be very organized about your time, and you do have to outsource everything that you possibly can, and get as much help as you can. But, you know, if you try and think too big about it, it can seem overwhelming. But I just go 24 hour to 24 hour, so that then I don't get so overwhelmed with it. But honestly, like, I don't know that men can multitask as well as women can. I don't know that they can. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I certainly did.
Yeah, I've seen many a woman with baby on hip, headphones in, on a call, doing something. It's just like magic, isn't it? It's like Fantasia.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I think it's certainly something about that sort of brain, isn't it, that can do a few things and got a go-to attitude that can pull this off.
Yeah, I think it's also it's that desperation point as well. So when I got divorced, you know, obviously everything splits up. It's very difficult. And I didn't know how I was going to pay the daycare or the school or anything like that. And at that moment, I was like, right, okay, what am I going to do now? And at the time when I got O&M in the divorce settlement, and my ex-husband got the salons, which were doing really well, and O&M was like losing so much money. And my divorce lawyer actually said to me, Josie, that's the only thing that's worth nothing. In fact, it's worth less than nothing. And I was like, that's okay. Wow. I'm not a hairdresser. I can't just run a hair salon. I'll have that. And the first thing that I did was I sold all of my clothes on eBay. Because I thought, you know, I've always liked nice clothes. And so I sold all of my clothes. And then I realized that I had a house in Bondi quite near the beach. And I put it on Airbnb, and I started to rent it out. And I would go with my kids at the weekend and stay at my friend's house once I rented the house out. And that was how I paid the school fees and the daycare fees. And then I started to focus on O&M and at the time I was looking for a new manufacturer for the colour, and I got on a plane and I went to Italy, and I thought, if I don't find a manufacturer who can do this ammonia and PPD free colour, I'm actually going to just focus on the hair care. And funnily enough, it was a female chemist that I met, and a lady called Julia, and she said to me, I've got a small range, but if you like it, I can make it bigger, and I can do it. And so that was a big turning point for me. But I was so scrappy with how I do it. So I think what I'd say to other women is that your brain's got to think outside. Don't just think, say if you're working in a salon and you're earning a certain hourly rate or whatever it is, that's all that you've got. There's so many other ways to make money right now. And touch wood, it will never happen to me, but I could lose everything and I would be able to start again, and something else. It's all about your mindset. It really is.
Yeah.
There's something so much about a needs must that really makes things happen sometimes, isn't there?
Well,
it's like
we had this with our backs, didn't we?
Yeah,
I
was thinking that exactly that. The resilient hairdresser had to work because I couldn't stand up anymore in hairdress.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't stand. I was lying on the floor. I was in so much pain. And I was just like, I stopped hairdressing probably 2 or 3 years before I planned to. And I was like, this has got to work now. And it was like, there was no option. And it sounds like you were similar. And there is something about your back being against the wall, isn't it? It's like, all right.
Yeah. Shit hits a fan. Yeah.
Juices flow, don't they? I do think creativity comes out of struggle. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have to. And I do. But it was similar for you, Maddie, as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah. So, Josie, I know that mental health is really important to me and Maddie. My business is all about mental health, the hair and beauty industry. But I know that you sort of think about this a lot with your brand. You mentioned like the retreat that you were just talking about. And so I'm just wondering why this is important to you and how you have brought this sort of thing into your brand values.
Yeah, I just have realized how important mental health has been to my own journey and my own now getting to sort of my own version of success, and how much I struggled with it. And it really only started to get much better for me when I started to do therapy, because I just believe that people, if they get to know themselves better, then they will get to their, on their journey to where they want to be. Because often people are looking, they think everything's out here. It's all other people. Oh, this person's doing this to be this, but it's not. It's when you realize that it's all you, that if you're overloaded, it's because you don't have enough boundaries. You're choosing to interact with people who are drama or who are draining. When you realize it's all you, it's actually so much easier. So I remember after about 4 therapy sessions, I said to my therapist, okay, can I ask you something? And she goes, yeah. And I said, is this how it's going to work? Like every time I come in here and I give you a story and I tell you about my ex-husband or what's going on with my business partner, whatever it is, you're going to revert it back to me? Is that what you're going to do? And she went,
yeah.
She was like, yeah. And I went, okay. So then got it. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, then I realized, I was like, right. So if it's all me then, right, it's all me creating this drama or this discomfort or whatever it is, then I've got the power to change it. And so then I was like, okay, I actually quite like this. So then I think you can decide, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to live in that situation. I don't want to feel overloaded. And so then you start to go into what can you do? So my idea with the retreat for hairdressers was, I thought during COVID, I did an interview with my therapist where I said to her, hairdressers are the first person that people are seeing coming out of lockdown. And I was like, how do you hold on to yourself when people are dumping all their stuff on you for 8 hours a day?
Yes.
So we did a video where she gave a few breathing techniques, tapping, writing it down on paper so that it belongs to the paper and not to you, pushing against the wall. Like, we did all of these things, but I thought, I don't know that hairdressers would know themselves with 4 days on a retreat with no phones. No one's trying to sell them anything. We're not talking about product or hair. We're just connecting. So last year we did this retreat and we took 60 hairdressers, and it was hugely successful. People were, not on their phones. They were laughing, crying, having treatments. Like, I remember on the first day, one of them was like, I need a schedule. And I was like, well, there is a schedule, but there's also scheduled time out. And you just, that's the beauty. Like, just put your feet in the earth. And people came back from that, and I saw them 6 months later, and they were like, I haven't drank any alcohol since being on the retreat. I now have a morning routine, and just so many things that they picked up from that. And I think fundamentally hairdressers are empaths, and they need to be able to put themselves first and still care for their client, but create that boundary. So we are in a drug and alcohol fueled industry. And I'm not saying that I never have a glass of wine, but I'm trying to show them a different way that they can have a good time and they can connect and they can get to a different level without that. And that actually they'll feel much better. So it's really important to me that people live healthier, longer lives.
I mean, I just couldn't love everything you said more, Josie. I couldn't nod more deeply to everything that you said. I was like, yes, all of that, just everything, the trauma dumping, the putting yourself first, just all of it.
The therapy, we love to see it.
Yeah. The therapy, the boozy fueled industry, all, and doing something different. All of it. I love it so much. I just love it so much, Jose. Thank you so much for everything you said. Me and Maddie are just massive fangirls now.
I'm just obsessed now.
Yours.
Oh, bless you.
I think it's amazing what you're doing. I was listening to your Burnout and Boundaries video today, and it's just so wonderful to see all the tactical help that you're giving, because also I do think a lot of people tell their story but don't necessarily tell the solution. And I really got so much out of just listening to myself. I shared it with my team, and I think it's amazing how much light you're shedding on to this and how much help you're giving people. So thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. That's true. I mean, I talk about this constantly, Maddie, don't I? I said, sharing your story is not help. It's a little bit of help, as in someone might see themselves in it, but it's not solutions. And just raising awareness is not enough. It's not strategy. It's not, people don't walk away going, I know what I'm going to do now. It just finds connection. It's not enough. So again, I couldn't agree with that more. And so we like to end all of our podcasts by talking about our hyper focuses. Jose, me and Maddie both have ADHD. We tend to get hyper focused on all sorts of things constantly. And we like to talk about them every week. And so we're going to invite you to share a hyper focus, something you might be obsessed with as well. We'll go first, give you a little minute to have a think about it. But what have you got, Maddie?
So mine, this was a mini hyper focus, I think, in the lockdown, and I don't know why I'm obsessed with them, but choreography videos. Yeah, it's coming back. So do you know the videos where they're like in a dance studio and they've all learnt this bit of choreography, and there's sort of like one in the middle? And I think always as a kid, I watched loads of like concert things and music TV, and I was like, I would love to be a backing dancer. I mean, I'm 6 foot with no coordination, no dance skills. Like, it's not going to happen. But I quite enjoy, I enjoy a little bop. I love Strictly, and I'm just obsessed with them. And I'm in the algorithm. I've searched a couple of them. I'm getting loads, which I'm very thrilled about. And I'm starting to think, could I do like a hip hop dance on a Wednesday night? So probably, my next thing is I'm going to be like popping and locking and whatever else. But I find them very joyful, and I could just watch them for ages. I know you're big into dance. You've done various types of dance as well. So maybe we need some Hayley Jepsen choreography videos.
I mean, I'm not saying I was talented, but I certainly used to give it a go. Do you know, I'll send you a video, Maddie. I actually used to be in an all-girl dance troupe. Did you know
Shut
this?
up. Oh my God, that's amazing.
I was in an all-girl, I ran it. I wasn't the talent as in the choreographer. We had a very talented choreographer, but it was like an old school jazz lineup. So
nice.
It was an all-girl jazz dance troupe. So it was like swing, 40s jazz, 20s to 40s jazz. Yeah, I loved it. And now when I watch the videos, I think, I can't believe I used to be able to move that fast.
Yeah,
we were called the Hotsy Totsies. Yeah, we were great. I loved it, but I really would love to do like an adult street dancing class. Like I think about this sort of thing.
Should we do like a coffee as at lunch, like back to back, like salt and pepper style?
Me and my friend went to one once, and an adult hip hop class was basically just 18-year-olds who were too old for the kids class. And we
like
rocked up in
adults.
our 40s, and it was like, no. But I've been obsessed with Rhythm Nation. Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation. I think she was the first person doing those big choreographies. You know what I mean? Like before Britney and stuff, we had Janet Jackson, and I was obsessed. But Rhythm Nation is the one I want to learn.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on that. What's
what's
your hyper focus?
Get in this with you.
Yeah.
Wallpaper.
Right.
I'm fully obsessed with wallpaper at the moment. I want to decorate my kitchen, and I'm a wallpaper person. I like bonkers wallpaper, and I basically went to bed last night. I decided yesterday it's happening. I'm going to decorate the kitchen, and so I went to bed Googling wallpaper. I woke up. I've ordered samples this morning. It's already happening, but I like, bonkers wallpaper is what I'm fully obsessed with. And I've realised there's not a lot of companies in the UK doing it. Do you buy yours from Lust, Maddie?
So this is from Lust Home. And then I can't remember where the other one's from. The Fox one is cute. I like that. That's a UK company. But I just like, because I do loads of obviously video content. And every time I show up like this, people are just like, I think they think I've got like a toddler and it's a toddler girl's bedroom. I'm like, no, this is my office. Thank you. So yeah, I do love a jazzy background. I can get behind that. Yeah, well, I'm in.
All of this. So I've ordered, I think, 4 or 5 samples this morning from Lost. So it's all fruits based and bonkers. And so I've been trying to deep dive wallpaper. It's just I can't find that many companies that do anything fun.
Yeah.
Like my office is quite serene, but the rest of my house is quite bonkers.
Jazzy.
So I'm deep in the wallpaper. So if anyone's got any recommendations for good companies, I'd be all over that as well. What about you, Josie? Are you with us on the hyper focus?
Yeah, can you share some pictures of your bonkers house? I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Can we have a tour? Can we have a tour? Can we have a tour?
I'll send you some DMs. I think Maddie's wallpaper is more bonkers than mine at the moment. It's my house is colourful.
It's funny because I have never been diagnosed with ADHD, but a couple of my friends have said that I've definitely got it. But because is one of the things where you just kind of zone out. Like suddenly, I'm like my eyes will get stuck, and then I just zone out as well. Yeah, so it's like your brain taps out. Yeah, I've definitely got that.
Yeah. For sure.
You zone out. Yeah, okay. So I do get it. It was really funny, when you asked me about the hyperfocus, because my partner looked at me like, what is it this week? So this week it is ice baths. So because we just went on this retreat and we did an ice bathing, we actually stayed in the ice bath for 3 minutes. And when you go in cold water for 3 minutes, your vagus nerve switches off, which basically, switches off your central nervous system. So it's very good for anxiety. And I think I function with high anxiety most of the time. So I loved it. So I came home and I was like, we have to have an ice bath. And so anyway, so then of course I found this rock star ice bath that I wanted. And then Brenda, my partner, was like, okay, that needs to be near a tap. Right, it's like a small swimming pool. So then now I've just been sending him all of these ice baths, and I did just before the call, I bought a portable one for $200, which is kind of like a big
nice.
blow up one. But now I've realized I'm going to have to fill that every time. So that's not a long-term solution. So that's my focus, like that I must have the ice bath.
Yeah.
Well, me and Maddie love a bit of plunging. I've got an ice
Yeah.
bath. I've got one of the, yeah, I've got one. And Maddie goes in the sea. Well, she's out of that phase at the minute, but she used to dip in the sea every day
Yeah.
because she lives
Yeah.
near the sea. So we're all about the plunging. But are you going to get one of those ones that's like self-cooling? Like it
That's
keeps
what
the
I would
temperature
like.
going.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bougie. Very
That's
nice.
bougie. I do
Bougie.
have an infrared sauna. That was one of my hyper focuses.
Nice.
So I've got one. So I've got a vision of going from the infrared into the ice bath.
Yes. I loved I had a real phase of getting in my ice bath, and like I say, it's one of the blow up ones. But the problem that I've had, which is, and I need to message the company and talk to them about this, is that it rains a lot where I am, and the lid that they have just fills with water, and the whole thing sort of goes in on itself. I live in Manchester; it rains non-stop, and so I just ended up having to empty it in the winter because I couldn't keep it going. Like it just kept collapsing because of the heavy rain gathering in the lid. And so the phase is over a little bit at the minute, but I'd really like to get that going again. But I loved it so much,
good.
Josie. I was in such a phase of getting in it every morning, and I loved it. And exactly that, it totally calms down your nervous system. It's fantastic. I loved it. And I also like it for the end of the day, because like when you've got ADHD, you get quite hyped up. And sometimes I find it hard to stop. Like I find it hard to get going, and then I find it hard to stop. And I found that the cold plunge works for both because it can kind of wake me up, but also I can also use it to calm down at the end of the day. And so get one.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, on your burnout video I was watching earlier, one of the things that you were saying was about how to sort of calm down and turn your central nervous system off, like by either singing in the car or dancing in the kitchen. And before we did the video, because it's, evening for me now, I took my dogs for a walk, and you said, no phone, no music, like, and I find that it really like lets me come back in my body and come back down to earth. And if I'm feeling particularly loopy, I take my shoes off and walk on the grass.
Yeah.
Nice.
Same thing. So I'll be
I think
cold plunging too.
Yeah, I think it's really important to figure out some way as hairdressers and just busy people in general to calm down at the end of the day. Otherwise, you're just tired and wired, So it's a great skill. Wow. Send me a picture when you get that bougie ice tub. I've been in one of those self-cooling ones when I did the class. It's fantastic. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, this has been amazing. I've had a brilliant time. I think I'd quite like it if we could just meet up every week, Josie.
I was going to say, do you just want a co-host, Josie? You've got a new job.
If you ever want an Australian division, I'll set up your Australian division.
Please. Yeah, I would love that.
Oh yeah, I just love to run things past you every now and again. Just fantastic. So thanks so much for your time. It's just been brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it. Thank you.
Oh,
thank
brilliant.
you.
And Maddie Cook, I'll see you next week.
See you next week, pal.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments.
Please support those who support us, and check out Timely, who we recommend is our favourite booking system for you. New customers can get 50% off their first 3 months with the code COFFEE50.